chains. Won't you fly free, bird, yeah.
Coming Out Podcast, just a man doing the best he can with what he got. The longest government shutdown in U.S. history has come to an end finally. Yeah, that's right. Congratulations, man. You did the bare minimum. You kept the entity that gave you a job afloat. Yeah, congratulations, guys. You guys are awesome for doing the very bare minimum of keeping the government open. Now, since the government's open, we can get to the most important part. That's right. Who to assign blame to? Who do we blame for this government shutdown? Who is it? That's what everybody wants to know. Who do we assign the blame to? And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to tell you who exactly is the blame. And if you're ready for it, here we go. The party you should blame for this government shutdown is both of them. That's right. Both of them. I've always said this, and I will continue to say this. In principle, I am against any government shutdown. Because if I am paying you to govern and to take care of the business of the people, the government should never shut down. Like, this is stupid as hell, guys. We have congressmen, senators that we pay to handle the business of the people, and they could not handle the business of the people, and they shut down the government. To me, a government shutdown is a fundamental breach of confidence in the whole goddamn political system. It shows that you cannot even do your job. If I had my way, I would oust every last one of those, Democrat or Republican. Kick them all the hell out because you can't do your job. Your job is to keep government open. You could not do it. It shows how far the two-party system has went and why we need to dismantle it. You have no adults in the room. None whatsoever. Nobody could get together. Nobody could compromise. Nobody could think of a way to keep the government open. It was all, hey, man, this or nothing. My way, the highway. It shows that you got nothing but little kids on both sides of the aisle. If I had my way, I would just oust all the shit and start all over. Like, seriously, I feel like if there's a government shutdown, everybody in control should be like, you know what? You're out. You can't govern. And because you can't govern, why are you here? But, I know, it was a little antsy, guys. This one was a little antsy, and we want to know who's more to blame. And for being honest, the party that is more to blame, although both are the blame, has to be the Republicans. And that's because you're in charge. You have the majority in the lower house and the upper house. Yes, you needed 60 votes for cloture, guys. I know the process. Cool. But you knew this budget was coming up. And if you didn't know this budget was coming up, then that shows a fundamental lack of confidence in you doing your job if you didn't know this was coming up. But during this whole damn shutdown, it was just used that illegal aliens are going to get some healthcare subsidies so we can't keep healthcare subsidies in for the American people. Which, look, I get why Democrats drew a line for that. I do. I get that. But once again, if you're a Republican, you know that's what the Democrats want, and they only ask for that one thing, that one major concession, you give it to them to keep the government open, right? But everybody was playing chicken with the economy. And that's what I don't like, man. So when we think about the U.S. government, we think about politicians, congressmen, senators, they're all out here just willy-nilly spending the people's money. And we think about fraud and poor spending and wasteful spending. And we like to pretend like the government is nothing. And that's because we're stupid and we don't take civics lessons. It takes a lot to run the U.S. government. And one of the biggest employers of American citizens, besides Amazon and Walmart, the U.S. government. That's right. The U.S. government employs a lot of people, and those people are much needed. Remember after the January 6th riots? When rioters, some may call insurrectionists, took a dump in Nancy Pelosi's office? Somebody had to clean that up. Those were government workers. Yeah, part of the government. And this is personal to me, right? Because I was an active duty soldier and I lived on a military base. And some of you guys have no idea how many civilians depend on army bases and military bases in general to make a living. As a rule of thumb, every army base is kind of near a shithole city. And that army base basically props up that whole city's economy. I lived in Japan for 12 years. And in Japan, there's a lot of military bases. And if you want to see a fragile ecosystem, go to a military base. Because we all support the troops. We love the troops. But it takes a lot for troop readiness. It takes a lot. A lot of soldiers have families. And they want to be with their families as much as they can. So you will see a lot of families on the Japanese military bases. And guess what those families often consist of? Kids. That's right. Badass American kids who need somebody to teach them. Teachers. Teachers weren't getting paid during this shutdown. Coming to work every day in Japan and every other fort in the United States of America. Fort Campbell, Fort Drummond, Fort Hood. Teaching them badass kids, but not getting paid because they are federal employees. Teaching soldiers, kids in a foreign land, couldn't get money, going to work every day. And you know who don't give a damn about the government being shut down and those teachers not getting money? Tokyo Gas. Tokyo Gas don't give a damn about that. That's right. The landlords who need that rent in Japan, they don't care about you being furloughed and your rent when the rent's due and you're not paid yet. They don't care. All of those teachers on military bases were suffering. I got a friend in Japan. Shout out to Kelly. Cheerleading coach, art teacher, and mentor to students on a military base in Japan. Have to do all this with no funds while not getting paid in a foreign land. Make that make sense. Yeah, I got a fraternity brother. Shout out to my fraternity brother. Sean Turner, man. Military contractor. Works in IT. And one thing I want you guys to understand, man, it takes a lot to protect our military infrastructure. It takes a lot of people. Once again, readiness comes in the fact that, hey, man, you want to make sure nobody can break into your system and hack some of our military secrets. One of those people was Sean. Sean, military contractor, working in the military, working in militant, federal contractor, family man. Got a family, a wife and kids. No money for 6 weeks. The man had to do what he had to do. And this is why I love my brother. Because when he called me and told me about this, like, hey man, this government shutdown is killing me. I don't give a damn who's to blame. I ain't got no money. And I'm doing my job. But to keep money coming in, that man started door dashing. Like, y'all don't understand the harm that was done to families to no fault of his own. This man wasn't able to bring in income from his full-time job because the government was shut down. Now, bills got to fall behind. The man got to take a second job just to keep money coming in. And you think those bill collectors going to let those late fees slide because the government was shut down? They ain't. So what we going to do to get those families back on their feet? I mean, thank God they said, hey, we're going to give them back pay, which that was up in the air for a long, long time, but they're going to give them back pay. But some of that back pay is going to go to pay off late fees because, you know, in America, we love to put a late fee on everything, which other countries don't do, by the way, like dead ass. When I was in Japan, the funny thing about the banking system over there well, a great thing, not even funny, there's no such thing as overdraft fees. That's right. In Japan, if you don't have the money in your account, they just don't take it out. It ain't no, hey, you didn't have the money, so I'm gonna charge you $50 because you didn't have the money. And every time somebody try to ding your account, I'm gonna charge you another $50 because you don't have the money. Nope. In Japan, if you don't have the money, they don't take it out. Not like over here in America. So who's gonna pay those late fees? Are y'all gonna do that? If somebody was expecting their paycheck to hit, the government shut down, and they didn't get their paycheck, and they got hit with a late fee, I think the government should pay that. Right? It's like the air traffic controllers. A lot of the air traffic controllers during this government shutdown, they took sick days or PTO time. Everybody like to pretend like government doesn't do anything for them. But the FAA and the transportation department does a lot for you guys. And people don't realize that until it starts getting inconvenient. Like seriously, being in government is a thankless job most of the time. You just do your job and people actually think your job is obsolete until they need you. And then they be like, hey man, why the planes ain't taking off? Oh, that was the government? Why'd you tell me that was the government? But no, a lot of the air traffic controllers were taking off during the shutdown. As they should, man. If you had PTO days, you should be using that. And now you got President Trump out here saying, hey, all the great patriots who didn't take off, who didn't use no PTO, should get a $10,000 bonus. No. How about you just keep the goddamn government open and you just give them what they work for? And then you had, what was it? Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy out here saying, hey, man, I question these guys' patriotism because they took off because they wasn't getting paid. And they had some sick days. And they took off. Man, what the hell? No, dude. Do your job. You expect them folks to work for free? Come on, dude. Who does that? Why would you expect that? So as we end this shutdown, I know y'all trying to get me to say, hey, Marcus, who's really at fault? Who is really at fault for this shutdown? And honestly, it's both of them. But if you want to assign more blame, it can never not be the party in charge. It can never not be the people who control the presidency, the upper house, and the lower house, right? It can never not be their fault. But in all honesty, man, fuck them both. But I never want you guys to forget the argument on the Republican side for not leaving subsidies in the ACA. And you know what? Before we get to that, let me just say, y'all forget recent history. The ACA, what Republicans dubbed Obamacare, which a lot of Republicans don't even know the ACA is Obamacare. That point aside, right? When Obamacare was first being proposed, I didn't like it. And I still don't like it, right? I don't like it because it's not complete. I wanted a public option in Obamacare. Obama ran on that. But he used a Republican idea from the Heritage Foundation that Mitt Romney used in Massachusetts. And that's what passed. Shout out to John McCain. Still don't like it, but it addressed a bunch of problems. You guys forget what it was like before the ACA, where you could get dropped from your insurance for pre-existing conditions. You forgot how it was when there was no baseline of minimum coverage. The insurance companies can say, hey, man, this is what I'm going to determine minimal coverage. Yeah. Remember you had to pay for physicals? I do. The ACA dealt with a bunch of problems we had in healthcare. And Luigi Mangione showed us we still got problems in healthcare that we need to fix, guys. Dead ass. But for the last 15 years, one party has been saying they're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. And you have gotten nothing. So if you're not going to present anything to change the problem that we know we already have, or do anything better or even add to it, when the other party says, hey, I don't want you to touch that part of this bill, the bill that you're not doing anything to make better, or these subsidies we need in the midst of giving Argentina $40 billion in the midst of remodeling the White House, in the midst of Kristi Noem having her own private plane, in the midst of us paying $1 billion for a Qatari plane to retrofit that, in the midst of that, why don't you keep subsidies in for the American people that's going to make their health care lower? Because once again, I want y'all to just notice, peep game. No Republican said that leaving those subsidies in the ACA was going to increase your health care premium. They just said they wanted it out because it was going to help illegal immigrants. Not hurt you, but help the others. With that information, knowing that what this government shutdown was about. This government shutdown that ironically got me and Marjorie Taylor Greene on the same side. I gotta blame them more. Just saying. Just saying. Okay, guys, I know y'all been waiting on this. I've been teasing this, but I wanted to get my facts straight. And I was talking to my sources in media who were actually digging into this. So I said I will wait. But it's time to disclose the cost of the National Guard being deployed in Memphis. Now, let me just say this. I am in the Memphis area. A lot of these high crime areas you talk about, or people want to demonize, I have friends and family that live there. And a lot of folks have been tagging me on the social medias to stories of people who are glad that the National Guard is in Memphis. And they really feel like the National Guard is making a difference and they feel like the city is safer. First, let me say I have, skepticism about any video I see on social media, especially Facebook. But also, I'm going to say this. If you are one of those people who feel like the city is safer because the National Guard is here, cool. I am glad that you feel like the city is safer. But two things can be true. You can feel like the city is safer and it still can be a big ass waste of money. And my point rings true. This National Guard deployment to Memphis has been one big waste of money. It is. Objectively, we have wasted so much money on window dressing and possibly having a whole shadow government police department that has federal immunity. Possibly. Possibly. We've broken so much. We've passed so many damn Rubicons with this happening all over America. But objectively, this has been a waste of money. Now, in my previous podcast, I was working out the numbers myself and I gave an estimate, a revised estimate. And I said, it is going to cost roughly $1 to $2 million a month for 100 soldiers. And we've got the numbers. And the actual cost is $3,493,800 a month. And I'm going to be honest with you. These are the numbers they're putting out here. But I have some other sources that says that this is not all the money they're spending, and they're not accounting for everything. But look, I can't put where I got that from right now, but $3.5 million for a 54-day period. It is estimated by mid-November, it would have been $8 million spent on the National Guard. Now, what have the National Guard been doing while they're in Memphis? Short answer is nothing. Them boys ain't did nothing. Great gig if you can get it, and I ain't begrudging none of those guardsmen, man, hey, get that easy money. You go where you're called, man. But these boys are getting easy money. They're not doing anything. Okay, that's not fair. They're doing the bare minimum. These guys are actually just ornaments, man. Only thing they've been doing in Memphis is patrolling Beale Street, walking up and down, hanging out in front of Walgreens in Midtown, chilling at the FedEx Forum. Their presence, in some of you guys' opinion, is deterring crime. I honestly ask you, do you not think that more police officers in those areas also wouldn't have deterred those those crimes from happening? Do you think only by having a guy in a uniform, camouflage fatigues, that's the only thing that can stop crime from happening in Memphis? If that's the case, let's just call the No Limit Soldiers. Let's call Master P, the colonel of the Golden Platinum Tank, to come out here. If fatigues is all we need, guys. Okay, no, seriously, no. Seriously. How much is an average salary for a Memphis police officer? Honestly, it's $60,000 a year. That's the average cost of an officer in Memphis, starting off. If Memphis is this hellscape, this hellhole, in all honesty, I think you should have paid those officers more and had a better recruiting drive, right? You could have had a national recruiting drive. With a lot of oversight, by the way, a whole lot of oversight. But if you're paying $60,000, let me not say that, because I'm a supporter of the Memphis PD. They've been taking a lot of shit too, but let me not say that. Let me say this. You could get more or higher quality people if you paid more. Dead ass. Because ultimately, this is just a job. And people got to feel like the risk is worth it. And I just got to say, man, not all the time, but the more you pay correlates to the quality candidate you get. You could have gave everybody a raise. Like dead ass. And let me just say this. I was always for an increased police presence in Memphis. And I felt like the Safe Task Force was okay. Honestly, okay. Go back and listen to all my podcasts. That was okay. I just pushed back against the National Guard. Not to mention, crime numbers were already skewing down in Memphis, which leads to the predicament of, hey, now how am I supposed to believe the numbers that you once told me they were false now? Because, guys, numbers don't lie, but people who use them do. Arrests were never the problem in Memphis. MPD arrests a lot of people. The problem in Memphis has always been prosecuting criminals and finding a place for them to stay, because our jails are not big. Dead ass. They're not big. So it's a twofold problem. A lot of the problems in Memphis is that the real violent offenders can't stay in because we're too busy locking up people who smoke weed. Yeah, dead ass. Which is why I'm a strong proponent in legalizing marijuana in Tennessee. Like, seriously, it would do wonders for us. It would stop some of these drug trafficking and the drug trade in Memphis if we just go ahead and legalize marijuana. Dead ass. We should just do that. And that can take some of the strain off our police officers, because we asked them to do way too much in Memphis. And if you ask them folks to do more, of course, it's going to lead to more arrests. Like dead ass. We put a lot of stress on the MPD. They're fine men and women out there risking their lives, but I do know it is a job, and we're making their job harder. But for $3.5 million, we could have had 60 police officers for a whole year in Memphis. But instead, we got a month of National Guard soldiers standing in front of Walgreens. If this lasts over 3 months, you could have had over 150 police officers for a whole year in Memphis for the National Guard. Guys who aren't doing anything. Hey, guys, this is funny, right? Because I was in South Memphis yesterday. Dead ass. I was in South Memphis, one of these high crime areas in the heart of South Memphis. You know what I didn't see? National Guard. I did not see anybody. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to be honest with you. I did see police officers. I did. I ain't going to lie and be like, well, no, the police officers are out here doing their job. They're out here grinding. But in the heart of South Memphis, off 3rd, no National Guards are patrolling the neighborhoods down there. Nothing. I was at Hickory Hill 2 weeks ago. You know what I didn't see? National Guard. I was in White Haven, AKA BHZ, Black Haven Zone, all the damn time. You know what I don't see there on Elvis Presley? National Guard. So I'd rather have police officers getting that money that we're spending on the National Guard. And while we're on this subject, man, I just really want to make this point. For everybody who says, oh my God, crime is going down in the city. And the city is so much better now because we have the National Guard and all this FBI. My question is, what's next? What happens after this? What's next after the National Guard leaves? Presumably, they're going to leave. It's not going to be a forever endeavor. What happens then? After the National Guard leaves, are white folks just going to start walking up and down the streets of South Memphis? Are they coming to the Foot Homes, Trigg and Lauderdale? They're going to just start walking and having picnics? Is that what's going to happen? What do you guys want to happen next? Let me ask you this. And honestly, is high crime the reason why the infrastructure in South Memphis sucks? Is high crime the reason why the school districts in Memphis suck? Is high crime the reason why the streets have all the goddamn potholes? Is high crime the reason why, when I went to South Memphis yesterday, I saw shitty ass infrastructure, dilapidated houses, dilapidated buildings? Is that the reason? High crime? Is that the reason why I didn't see street signs, traffic lights? High crime. Did high crime do that too? I think we correlate crime to a lot of things that we shouldn't. The living conditions in these high crime areas are bad not only because of crime. They're bad because there's no opportunity. So if you guys want to tell me that crime is going down now, thanks to Donald Trump, cool. What next? Are we going to invest in these areas? Are we going to bring some high-paying jobs in these areas? Are we going to bring any jobs to this area? Are we going to get some strong public transportation going in and out of these areas so people can have mobility and possibly find jobs all around the city? Because worst kept secret, if you don't have a car in Memphis, you can't do anything. And MATA, our public transportation, good luck with that, buddy. They may come. If they come at all. So what's next? If you guys want to tell me, man, Trump has cleaned up Memphis and they're doing a bang up crackerjack job and things are going down, they're better now. What's next? Because I see a whole lot of money going into law enforcement and window dressing with the National Guard, but I don't see nobody proposing on how we're going to get this education better. President just said, man, Americans are dumb. His words. So after this, what's next? But you guys know the truth. This whole operation is to make people who are never going to come to the city feel a little bit better by not being in the city. And if you can give me all this law enforcement, I should see a plan on how to better these communities. Just something to think about.
Lord, I can't change. Won't you fly free bird, yeah. Lord, I can't change. Won't you fly free bird, yeah.
I don't want to talk about this, but I feel like I gotta talk about this. But I done talked about this before, but I'm gonna talk about it again. And bear with me, because I know you probably don't want to hear this anymore, but we're gonna talk about it. The Epstein files. All right. And it ain't looking too good for Trump. This whole situation is just stupid, honestly. But let's go over what we know now. A set of more than 20,000 documents from Epstein's estate were released by the House Oversight Committee in November, including emails where Epstein claimed a victim spent hours at my house with Donald Trump. A discharge petition succeeded on November the 12th to bring the total number of signatures to 218, which forces a floor vote in the House on the release of the Epstein-related files. Now, this is important because Republicans have been covering up for Trump. That's literally what happened. You need at least 218 votes to bring, well, you need 218 signatures to bring a motion or a bill to vote on the floor. They didn't have that. Now, because they just added a new congressperson from Arizona, they had 218. So now they can force the vote. And what that's going to do is put on public, on a record, anybody who says they don't want these documents to come out. And that's going to be political suicide, because ultimately it's going to seem like you're protecting the pedophile. And nobody wants to do that, right? Victims are speaking out strongly. For example, Marlena Lacosta, I think I pronounced her name wrong. I apologize. She publicly demanded full transparency and criticized the political delay. The U.S. Department of Justice and the FBI issued a memo in July stating they found no evidence that Epstein had a client list or that he kept it for blackmail, or that third parties were viable for investigation. And when that memo came out, I'm going to be honest, it's not what the memo said, it's what the memo didn't say. And that memo didn't say that Donald Trump wasn't in the Epstein files. That memo didn't say it was some or no incriminating evidence about Donald Trump or anything that was unsightly. Didn't say that. It just said, hey, they didn't have enough to investigate. And that leads to the political drama. Trump has opposed the release of these files, while some Republicans and Democrats are pushing for a full file release. And let me just be clear, guys. I don't know what all those files and documents say. And these are from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. And a lot of those are damning. And let me also say, I don't know if Trump did anything with underage girls. I don't know. But the quickest way to look guilty in this is to not release all of the documents. I've said it before, I will say it again. I don't give a damn who's in those documents. It could be my grandma. If my grandma is in them documents, send her nasty ass to jail. Expose her. Don't give a damn, guys. This is not political posturing time or political theater. You got a lot of sick individuals who did things with underage babies, underage girls. And you saw Megyn Kelly tried to make the distinction. Well, how young was the whole R. Kelly? What do you mean by teenage girls? Megyn Kelly actually pulled the R. Kelly. Go back and watch the clip. She did that. But it doesn't matter. Expose everything. I don't know. But the most infuriating thing about this is the Republicans that are covering up for Trump right now, and a lot of Republicans have broke ranks over this Epstein file. I will say that. But the ones that are still towing the line, Kash Patel and the FBI, it's like you think we stupid. And that's what I don't like about this. It's like you think we're dumb. It's like you think we can't piece together that you guys are trying to cover up something heinous. Because Trump himself, on the campaign trail, less than 2 years ago, said that, hey, I'm going to release all the documents. He invoked Epstein's name 4 times on the campaign trail. Kash Patel, when he was a podcaster like your boy, he said there was a client list. Dan Bomb Vagina, whatever his name is, he said there was a client list. Pam Bondi said that the client list was on her desk. Now all of a sudden, it's a Democrat hoax and nothing to see here. This is gaslighting 101. It's like, you told me all this stuff existed. And now that I find that your name is in it, hey, there's nothing to see here. It's like you think we stupid. And I'll say again, if you a Trump supporter, you gotta feel like dude done took out his balls and rubbed it across your chin. By saying that, hey, there's nothing to see here. I threw him out my club because he was a pedophile. And let me just say this. Let me just shoot Trump some bail. Dead ass. We all have people that we know that have done some untoward things that we were friends with, and we had to cut them off because of their actions. Like, we had to distance ourselves because we didn't like what they was doing. Like, we loved them as people. We were friends with them, but we didn't like their actions, so we had to separate ourselves. And that could totally be the case here. But you know what makes it seem like it's not? Not releasing all of the documents. Like, who am I to give the president advice? But if I was in his PR circle, unless it's something totally egregious that's going to implicate me, so disgusting that's going to make me look like a creep, if I was in his PR department, I would say, hey, man, let's just go ahead and release all these documents because we're never going to get away from this until we do. Like this little drip, 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 drip. If this is a hoax, and if Democrats are using this as political fodder, I can't say father, say fodder. You know what I mean? If they're using this against Trump, the biggest way to kill this is release all the documents. But they have not released all the documents. And you got to ask yourself, why? And that's the Coming Out podcast. Doing this thing weekly. Thank you guys for the support. Like, follow, share. I appreciate the extra follows on Instagram. For all those who are like tired of me posting on my Instagram, sorry, gonna keep on doing it. Music will be up there soon and other things as well. Got some new random shows coming up with Alex. Check me out on YouTube. Common Knowledge Podcast with Marcus L-Spade Johnson. It's going to be under the Tokyo Stash and Spade site on YouTube. And you can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere else you get free podcasts. Appreciate you guys. Be safe. Peace.